Thank you so much. That's awesome. Yes, Anna Marie can't be here tonight. Um, there's a wedding anniversary on the go, which is fabulous, and I'm so happy for her. There's our definition, and we are exploring open-heartedly as possible. We mindfulness is the magnifying glass, and magnifying glasses are pretty useless unless we focus it on something. So it's the same with mindfulness. We can be mindful, but there must be an object that we're mindful of, whether it's coffee, food, your heart, wisdom, emotions, your body, um, you know, sounds, your breath. So mindfulness is the magnifying glass. Gratitude, non-reactivity. Okay, all of these things are what we focus on as we practice mindfulness. We looked at the EQ definition, and if you can try and remember this as much as possible: self-awareness, self-management, interpersonal awareness, and interpersonal management. Those are the four pillars of emotional intelligence. Without one of these, this whole thing falls apart. And then last week, really looking at self-awareness and self-management. And self-management really is self-care. You know, how do we manage ourselves well? And I suppose non-reactivity could also come in there. You know, to be non-reactive is a form of self-management. To understand what number you are today is a form of self-awareness. And then we spoke a little bit about sort of the Myers-Briggs model, and Kathy brought up, you know, a very interesting question, that it's more than just, you know, how we feel in our emotions from moment to moment, but more sort of personality traits of ourselves and others, to be aware of those too. So that was a good point. We looked at putting on the self, on the oxygen mask on yourself, and whenever your mind wanders, and you bring it back, to be kind to yourself and then congratulate yourself instead of beating yourself up, instead of saying, you know, I'm crazy, I can't meditate, but instead to say, I'm doing great and this is good and nice. Well done for coming back. One of the interesting things about the AA and alcoholism, and this poor guy's had a rough night, would hate to be like that in the morning. But one of the sad things about, well, not sad, but AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, I've had addiction problems a lot in my life. And I haven't been on hard drugs, but I mean, I'm lucky I haven't been on hard drugs, because I do have addictive tendencies. And I find that the model of the AA works well, because there's a person that comes in, and then there's someone who's been there for a while that decides to sponsor you, or, you know, like a mentor. So if you feel like you're going to backslide or take a drink or a drug, you got to phone that person and say, hey, I'm struggling here. Just talk to me or help me. But I do believe that the healing is not only for the person, the new person that joins. The healing and the recovery, it's also part of the person that has been with the program for quite some time and is a sponsor and a mentor. And that's what keeps them on track. Last year, I went through probably the worst year of my life. I got divorced from a woman that I really adore and I love. And I've tried my best to try and talk to her and reason with her and explain that this was a bad move after 15 years. But she's not budging. She's not giving in. And I must be honest, some sessions that I ran for our clients, early sessions in the morning, I think I was very much like this guy. I was hungover. I was messed up. I was living in B&Bs. I didn't even know where I was half the time. I was hitting the bottle hard. And I thought to myself, I can't do this work as a mess. I've got a responsibility to my clients, and it's not just a business thing, right? It's for me, it's a spiritual thing to be able to run wellness programs for corporate. At least there's a couple of people on the call that you never know. You might just be really helping them and saving their life. You never know. So I decided to clean up my act, and I got myself together, and I booked myself flat out. So every night I was teaching. Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Every night I was teaching. So I did that so that I wouldn't drink. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's why I did these teacher trainings this year. Because every night I'm busy. Every night I've got a good project on the go. If I was sitting alone, I'd be drinking. So it keeps me out of trouble, you see. So my compassion, me helping and me serving and me teaching is actually a very selfish thing. It's just for me, to keep me on the straight and narrow. But I'm glad if anybody benefits from that. My teacher, my mindfulness teacher, is really quite a wonderful person. He was talking about getting on a flight in the late 1980s, and it was in the States. I think it was Delta Airlines, and they were flying, and he said people get on the plane and it's economy class, and they bumping each other, trying to fight for elbow space, moaning about the food. And he said the air hostess came running past him crying. And he thought, uh-oh, that's not good. And then the captain came over the loudspeaker and said, we have a problem. The undercarriage of the plane doesn't seem to be working. We don't know if it's working. Our systems are not telling us if it's working. So unfortunately, we can't even fly by the tower at the airport because it's too much mist on the ground. There's fog. Even the air tower cannot see us. They've got no visibility from ground, which means we're going to have to fly around for another hour and a half and dump as much fuel as we can. Because if we land with any fuel in the tank, the plane could burst into flames if we hit the tarmac and we don't have wheels. So you can imagine you're faced with a tough hour and a half, wondering if this is the last, hour of your life. And he said people were crying, hysterical and sobbing, but eventually strangers were hugging each other, holding each other, crying together, talking about their children, their loved ones. And he said it was quite a strange and wonderful feeling of this love in the plane as we face our mortality. No one was arguing. No one was moaning about the food. Everybody was just showing love. And then he said the plane went down and they could see through the fog the fire engines and the flashy lights, and the runway had been pumped full of foam, and the plane came down and the wheels were down. The undercarriage was down, and they landed without crashing. And everybody applauded, and then they elbowed each other to get off the plane. But he said, you'll never forget that sort of, when you're faced with knowing that you're going to die, that there's this softness, this tenderness, this love. And if you think about it, we all on a plane, we all on this plane of life, and at some point it is going to crash, it is going to go down. No one gets out of this one alive. Um, but I think the moral of the story is that when faced with it, we are essentially good people. Human beings are essentially good. The Dalai Lama said something quite interesting. He said, "Why is the news always bad? It's not because we're evil, it's because we're good. Because we look at the news and we get a shock that such bad things are going on in the world. And it's almost like an addiction. You know, when you drive past a car crash, everybody slows down to have a look. You're not looking and going, ooh, I hope someone is hurt. You don't do that. You know, we all think, I hope they're okay. And we're slowing down to see if the people are okay or what happened. We don't want people to die in car accidents. We don't want to see them hurt. And if you do, well, you know, then maybe you're a psychopath or something. But that's rare. You know, that's very rare. Even countries that go to war against each other, they don't necessarily want to go to war. They just want to protect their citizens. And maybe that's an act of love. I don't know. Confused. We all know the Titanic came to its end when the captain thought that he could plow through the iceberg, not knowing that there was quite a lot more under the water that took the ship out. And it's the same with people, right? Like you see that surface person, but we never know what's underneath. And there's always so much more going on. You know, what's that quote? You never know. Be kind to everyone because you never know what sort of inner battles they may be facing, right? But then I saw one that said, not me. I tell everybody about my inner battles. So I think that's more like me. I tend to overshare. And amazingly, my health is very good. So I think there's something about being able to talk about your emotions and express your emotions, and it has a direct relation to your health. There's more and more research coming out. I know there's a book by Louise Hay, talks about emotions and cancer. But Dr. Gabor Mate, who's a very big heavyweight in the medical world, he says that more and more studies are coming out about how people suppressing emotion, people not talking about emotion, and how that leads into mental and physical illness, terminal illness, typically. Emotion causes illness, negative emotion, bottled up. That's why it's very important to understand that the dynamic with another person is essential to your wellness. We need other people. We need to talk to them, and they need to talk to us. And not just how's your day? Yeah, it's fine. Lekker weather. Yeah, did you watch the rugby? Yeah, lekker. Cheers. We need to go a little bit deeper than that and be a bit more vulnerable and find friends or family that we can really have deep conversations with about how we feel. It'll save you money on therapy. I think this is the interesting thing with therapy is that's what therapy is for. It's just to really talk, you know, and maybe if you're lucky, get some advice. But I think actually to have an objective human being sitting there that you're paying just to listen to you unpack your stuff is actually very, very important. It's very important. Who here has been for therapy? Okay, good. I'm glad. Everyone. Okay, I'm glad. Well done. I'm sure if this was a call full of men, I don't think I'd get many with their thumbs up, right? It's a problem with men. That's why men are 4 times more likely to die from suicide. Yeah. So this whole idea that there's so much more to everybody, we never know. And with emotional intelligence, it's really important to practice that empathy, to be able to try and understand what is underneath all of this. I had a business partner in the advertising world who stole R1 million from me personally, who took me for a ride. He found a loophole in a legal contract, and he bled me out. R1 million. You can imagine how difficult it is to lose that kind of money over a 5-year period. And when it came out, I had so much anger that I wanted to kill him. I'm surprised I didn't end up in jail. But I didn't attack him physically. I did resign from my position as managing director, and I left and I joined Mindful Revolution at a very vulnerable time. And my hatred towards this man was intense. So there was something that I could do to ease my anger. You know, what do they say? Holding on to a coal. What is that saying? Anybody holding on to a burning coal? Something like anger is like holding on to a burning coal and expecting somebody else to feel the heat, you know? So the only thing I could do is try and get under his skin and understand why. Why did he steal this money from me? Why did he do this? And I came up with some really good reasons, which made me feel better about him. And it involved his family and financial pressure that his daughter was putting on him and a whole bunch of stuff. Did it make it right that he took me for a ride that way, white collar crime? No, it wasn't right. That's his karma that he'll deal with. But it made it a lot more understandable for me, and it helped me to forgive him. Now, forgiveness is a mindfulness practice. You wake up every day and you forgive every day. You don't just do it once. You forgive every day. And every day as you practice mindfulness, we forgive. And what is forgiveness? It's just really the ability to let something go, to not include that arsehole in your 45,000 negative thoughts in your day. Not to think about them 20,000 times in a day, you know, only 10,000 times. And time will be a healer until maybe you'll only think of them 1,000 times a day. Still sounds like too much, you know. Okay, let's play a game. What do you guys see here? Do you see anything that sort of jumps out at you? Something, a picture, a pattern, an image? You can't get this.
Cow.
You can't get this wrong. Kathy?
A cow.
Okay. Anybody else? Let's see the chat.
Footprints.
Sorry?
Footprints.
Footprints. Okay.
Like shoe prints.
Shoe prints. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Catherine, for your comment. Anybody else?
I see a person standing on the left in the
Yeah.
snow, but now I can also see the cow. So a bit of both.
Anybody else? Nicole Temmin's putting on her glasses just to make sure. Uh, okay. So some of you see, these things going on. Catherine, yes. A mismoved cow. So there's the cow. Ta-da! You see it now? It's actually interesting. Most people don't say cow. I get bra here. I get a rack of ribs over here. I get a little horsey over there. Oh, I get all sorts of things. It's actually really funny. Footprints in the snow is a common one. And what does this prove, really? It just proves that we really, not all of us see reality or things in the same way. That we think that people see the world as we do, but they don't. There's that saying, people see the world as they are. We see the world as we are. So if you said that you saw footprints, whatever, you'd be right. It doesn't mean that there's a cow. Just because we drew some lines around it doesn't mean anything, okay? And your perception is valid. So to understand that when other people see the world in a certain way and it seems to you quite strange and bizarre, there's a level of empathy required from your side to realize that this person might be seeing a different reality to you. Quite different. Quite a different reality to you. Okay? Tonight you're listening to me, and I'm telling you that each and every one of you is having a different perception of this class. I don't think one of you is having the same thoughts and perception and ideas around this class. I think it was Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters who said, when I play my songs, I realize that there are 85,000 different versions going on in the audience in front of me, of that song. And that's true. And, when couples get into an argument, they're like, why don't you see things from my point of view? How can you not see this? That's a common argument, right? But they can't. Don't expect them to. It might be perfectly obvious to you because of your set of values and conditioning, but it might be completely oblivious to them. And this might be a person you've been, knowing, seeing, living with daily for 10, 15, 20 years. And you still get a shock. So in psychology, there's a term called cognitive fusion, where we solidify things. We solidify, oh, that's a bad person. That's a stupid person. That person is ignorant. That person is harmful. Or that person is brilliant. That person's a genius. That person is so beautiful. Or I am this way. I am jealous. I am angry. I am smart. I am courageous, whatever. The more appropriate thing to say about somebody else or ourselves would be, I am seeing this person as being ignorant. Okay, or this person is behaving ignorantly. I'm seeing this person as being stupid, or this person is behaving in a stupid way. But to call them stupid is an inherent label that isn't correct. But this is what we do. We create these little boxes around things, like we draw lines around people And then we convince everybody, oh, look at the lines we've drawn. You see, this is the reality, all these lines. But those are just our lines. Or the lines that we believe in are because somebody else drew lines around somebody else. And we go, oh, okay, they are a bad person. And we nod our heads and go, we agree. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we all fall for it. Through gossip, through slander, divisive speech, or storytelling. And our perception or our view of the world gets distorted. Now, when we practice mindfulness and loving kindness, we level the playing field and we see things as they are and not as what other people try and make us believe, or even what our minds tend to do. This looks like a COVID warrior. I did actually find this image during COVID, but it's actually a cowboy. Do you think that hatred and love can exist in your mind at the same time? Yeah? Kathy, how so?
I mean, there's always love in your brain because your family, your loved ones, so love is present.
Yeah.
But if somebody pees you off, and I mean, I used to watch a TV series and I hated that actor so much that I said to my husband, if the guy walks in front of my car, I'll drive over him. And he was just an actor. And I mean, it was at the same time. So I think it can. It all depends on who it's aimed at. You're not going to, I think I'm not going to love and hate an individual at the same time, the same individual, but different individuals, different scenarios. I think it's possible.
Yeah. Anybody else have some ideas on that? Catherine, are you typing? Okay. She's typing away. Nobody else have any thoughts on that?
I agree with what Kathy says, that you can feel love and hate, but for different people and for different things. I don't think that you can feel love and hate for the same thing.
Yeah.
That's my view.
Okay. Catherine says, yes, of course, I'm Portuguese. Oh my gosh. Okay, interesting discussion. When we actively move into mindful training, we can reduce our hatred and increase our loving kindness. Whether we completely eradicate hatred, anger, and ill will, if we can eradicate it completely, that's another debate. But in the Asian schools of meditation, they say we can and have. They say a lot of the monks and the nuns have no afflictions whatsoever. Now, that's hearsay. I can't go and look into their mind and go, yeah, that's correct. This is an interesting comment by a very spiritual teacher by the name of Ram Dass. He's very famous in the States. His name is Richard Alpert, and he got kicked out of Harvard University in the 1960s for experimenting with LSD with his colleague, what's his name, Timothy Leary. They're very famous. They're very iconic in the hippie movement of the 60s. And Ram Dass unfortunately passed on. He had a stroke and he died. But he says he actually became quite a big spiritual teacher. He went to India for many years. He met a guru, and it's a beautiful story. He wrote a book called here now. What's it?
Be here now.
Be here now. That's it. Thank you. Who said that? Nicole. Have you read it? Yeah, it's very good. Be here now. Real hippie work back in the 60s and 70s. Be here now. So he says, I invite you when you are caught in your stuff and your heart is closed to reach out to find someone else who is suffering, to be there with them for a moment. What I find when my heart is closed is that the purity of their heart pulls me out of myself very quickly. For those of you who have gotten caught in individualism and separation, the act of serving another human being is a doorway back into your connection to the universe. Their real need pulls you out of yourself. Did you see that movie with Tom Hanks recently? What was it called? Oh, I can't remember anything tonight. He was like this really depressed older guy.
Was it A Man Called Otto?
Yes, that's the one. Wasn't it great?
I haven't seen it, but it's on my list. I keep flicking past it.
Okay. Do yourself
I've
a
heard
favor.
it's brilliant though.
This guy is so down. He's so depressed, but he keeps on getting irritated by people asking him to do little errands. I'm not going to give the story away. But he's constantly serving other people, which is keeping his mind off his problems. And interestingly enough, they say if you're suffering from depression, you should have someone else to care for, like a dog or a cat. That really helps. Why? Because we spend 45,000 of those thoughts thinking some of those to our pet and what our pet needs. So not everything is terrible and dark and horrible. And I think when we start thinking of what does somebody else need, so last week we looked at what do I need? How do I look after myself? I am so important. Now we're kind of balancing it out with, okay, well, what do they need? I know what I need. And how do I balance their need with my needs, right? I think that's the important thing. This is really interesting. Has anybody seen this guy before? Mathieu Ricard. Nicole Mansour, you have? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen these snippets of this, all of this research. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, this is groundbreaking. So the man in the brown jacket, this guy, he's Richard Davidson. He's a neuroscientist, a very world famous neuroscientist. Richard Davidson decided to scan the brains of over 1,000 people to find out if he could find where happiness exists in the brain. Happiness. Where is happiness in the brain? And he found through MRI and EEG that there's gamma, okay, in this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, the left hemisphere, frontal lobe, okay, the front here, that when the gamma, the electricity, the energy shifts in your brain to this part, he's found that people are generally smiling and they're happy. And he showed them pictures of their loved ones and children laughing and, and he said, okay, are you happy? And the subject would say, I'm feeling happy. And the gamma was there and he was tracking the gamma, the moving gamma, the energy. Your brain, as I said before, is pretty electrical. Okay. So then the Dalai Lama heard about this and said, he phoned up Richard Davidson. Richie, I've got this monk. He's Frenchman. He's going to come. Please scan his brain. He is famous meditator. He's been meditating strong every day, 7 hours. He's in retreat. I want you to look. Please tell me. So Mathieu Ricard, he's very famous. His dad was a famous philosopher. He also published a couple of books. Richard Davidson scanned his brain, and they found that the gamma in his brain was way brighter, way stronger than any of the other participants. It lit up like a light bulb. And the scientists were shocked. How could this man generate so much gamma in the prefrontal cortex in the left hemisphere? So Mathieu Ricard got the nickname the happiest man in the world. That's going to be part of your homework, is to Google happiest man in the world and read up on that research. It's staggering. Do you know what he was thinking about? Because they asked him, what are you thinking about? Anybody want to take a guess?
His future.
I guess in some ways that could be correct. I think that could be correct. I'm not saying it's not. It's part of the answer.
About God.
Could be part of the answer. Being alive, life. Nope. Okay, I'm going to put you out of your misery. Nobody gets this. He was thinking about serving all beings. He was thinking, and maybe God related, or maybe his future, because as his philosophy and religion explains, that he could become a person like Jesus on this planet, or another planet, for example, and be able to help countless beings. And that's his meditation. Is just imagining that everyone's happy, that he's happy, and that everyone in the world is free of pain and is happy. That's his meditation. And in that, he scientifically is proven to be the happiest man in the world. Now, whether he is the happiest man in the world or not, you would have to scan 8 billion people's brains to figure that one out. And I don't think anyone's got the budget for that kind of research. But it's an interesting experiment nonetheless, because it proves that if we are thinking empathically, how can I make this person happy? That has a direct impact on your happiness. That has a direct impact on your happiness. Now, you know, right, when you give something to someone, it feels good. You know that, right? It feels good. It's a feeling. That sharing, that generosity, it feels good. You know that. This image is of 2 wings. The left wing is yourself. The right wing is other people. Now, some people, they take care of themselves too much, and they don't take care of other people, so they can't fly properly. Or we don't take care of ourselves, but we're too busy taking care of other people. That's problematic too. that needs to be balanced, right? Self-care and care for others. That model has to be, and that's why I use 4 balls of the same size. All of those must be equal in its size. Otherwise, and the wings, right? I'm showing you the wings, cannot fly. Cannot fly. Are there any questions or comments? Guys are happy. Happy. Can we put you through the scanner and see how happy you are? It makes sense, right? How often do you think of the happiness of other people throughout your day? Because if that's got a direct relation to your own happiness and well-being, surely that's got to be a great thing to do. I recall riding the 94.7, and at the beginning of the race, has anybody here done the bicycle race, 94.7 or Argus? Yeah, no one. Well, not too late, guys. Not too late. It's coming up in November. You can start training now. It's fun. It's fun. You know, it's actually not so bad. People drink tequila on the way. Like you ride your bicycle and you stop and someone gives you a shooter, and it's actually like a joke. But it's fun. It's long, 94 kilometers. And at the beginning of the race, the DJ said, right, cyclists, are you ready? Are you ready for it? 6 o'clock in the morning, we're going to shoot the gun for you to start. Big party, playing music. And the DJ says, so who are you doing the race for? And I thought, who am I doing the race for? For me. And then I was like, no, wait, hang on a minute. That's a good question. Why don't we dedicate this race to somebody else? My gran's sick at the time. Yeah, okay. Let's do the race for Gran. And as I'm cycling, as I'm hitting those Krugersdorp hills, I'm thinking of my sick grandmother. And I have energy in my legs because I'm like burning. My legs are burning. And I'm like, Gran, this is for you, Gran. This is for you, Granny. You know? If it was me, I think I might have given up. Like if I did the race for me, you know, but because it was for my gran, I had like energy. There's another experiment where the mom holds wires and they crank up a little electric shock. You know, it's all controlled. And they say to the mom, tell us when to stop, when it starts to feel painful. So they crank it up and she goes, stop there. Then they bring in her daughter and her daughter puts her hands on her back and says, hi, Mom. And they do the experiment again. Her pain threshold is increased where she says, stop. Because she's feeling the love of her daughter, the daughter's presence. So anyway, pain and thinking of somebody you love increases your pain threshold, whether it's physical or mental. I've got a funny story. There was a Tibetan monk who came to South Africa, and I took him to Magaliesburg. He was giving a retreat and I was his attendant. And it was in the middle of summer. I think it was like freaking January or something. Went to bed, and it was a very rustic retreat center. I sprayed myself with peaceful sleep, climbed into bed because the mosquitoes were horrendous. Went to sleep, fell asleep, woke up the next morning, and I realized I didn't give any mosquito spray to the monk. And I'm supposed to look after this guy. So I ran to his room, knock on the door. Geshe-la, Geshe-la, are you okay? Oh, good morning, good morning. Geshe-la, the mosquitoes, did they bite you? He goes, oh, yes, so many. And now I'm like, oh, how did I forget about him? So I said, what did you do? He said, at first they're coming. Bzz, 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 bzz. And then, you know, I don't get angry. I just open my robes and I say, okay, guys, you can eat. And then I go to sleep, no problem. No, I mean, none of us, I don't know, I couldn't do that. The thing with mosquitoes is one mosquito can make us really pissed off, flying around, and can stop us from sleeping. Why do we stop sleeping? Because we're angry. We want this thing to be gone, right? But he was like, it's okay, you know, I'm not going to win this battle. I suppose he could have knocked on my door, but that was the story. The power of love, right? The power of love. Harnessing the energy of love to make us happy, to give us resilience, and to keep us going. In some of the darkest days, to get out of bed and to think, who am I getting out of bed for today? Who am I going to get out of bed for? Get out of bed for your child, your partner, your pet, your mom, your dad. And I think what Ram Dass was saying, you know, to get out of ourselves, to feel that connection with other people, and to understand that they are also suffering. And we, you know, it's like the blind leading the blind. I mean, so many days I feel like this, the blind leading the blind in this reality. But there's those of us that are strong, that think of others before ourselves. There's a strength. Dr. Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, he said the guys who survived in the Nazi concentration camps were the guys that were taking their shoes off and giving it to the guy who was crying because his feet were frozen. He said it wasn't the guy who got the shoes, it was the guy who was giving the shoes away. Those are the guys that survived. You know? So there's a real strength and a real resilience when it comes to compassion, right? Okay. So tonight I'm going to be giving you one of my favorite practices. It's like a version of something called Metta Bhavana. Metta Bhavana is an Indian name, Sanskrit. Metta means loving kindness. Bhavana means meditation. It's very old. It's thousands of years old. But I've just sort of adapted it a little bit for tonight and for this. And it's going to be our homework practice. All right. Let's choose that comfortable meditation seat. Let's take a moment now just to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and breathe it out the mouth. And now breathing in through the nose very gently and naturally. Let's imagine we're using some visualization this evening. We haven't really employed visualization. It's also a very wonderful part of mindfulness. Using our imagination in a fantastical way, we imagine that the air that we breathe is charged with qualities of healing. As we breathe in, we are healing our bodies and our mind. We're making ourselves stronger. Maybe you're breathing in courage. Maybe you're breathing in safety. What is it that you want to breathe into your being? Imagine that you can just do it. Joy, love, contentment, whatever it is, just breathe it in. Imagine that maybe each one has a different color. What color would you give love? What color would you give courage? What color would you give companionship? Breathe it in. Let it fill your body. Imagine it swirling in its color like a masterpiece of paint as it enters into your consciousness and your body. Okay, good, good. Fill yourself up. Make sure that left wing is strong, ready to fly. Self-care, self-compassion, whatever it is that you need. And now, let's think of someone that we love very much, someone that easily sparks a feeling of compassion. We don't want to see them suffer. We don't want to see them struggle in this life. And it could be someone that's passed on, perhaps. We wish them well. We feel a sense of kindness, of love. Maybe it's just for a pet. Bring to mind one being, living or passed on, or human or non-human, and you imagine what is it that they are going through. They open your heart. You want them to be so happy. And now, imagine that as you breathe out, you're sending some color to them. And it's not depleting you of yours, but you're like this reservoir of whatever it is that they need. And you imagine that they don't know what's going on, but whenever you exhale, it flies off to them. They breathe in what they need, and immediately they feel lighter and happier, healing, courage, love, wisdom, contentment, authenticity, whatever it is they need, they breathe in, and it's making them feel good and happy. And with every out breath, you are sending them more of what they need and not depleting what you have. Imagine that for a while. Okay, great. Let's fill ourselves up once again, focusing on the inhalation, taking in whatever it is you need out of the air as if it was in the air. And why not? Dr. Joe Dispenza says that when we visualize, our body doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So how brilliant would this be for your body to do this? Imagine you take in whatever it is that you need. Okay, now focus on your friend once again and exhale out to them with every out breath. Rainbow lights shooting off in their direction so that they can breathe in the relief that they need, free of their pain and opening up to happiness and joy. All right. You've done such wonderful work on yourself and on your friend. Let's dissolve that image. And taking in a nice deep breath in to end this practice. And breathe it out. Okay, so this is what the French monk was doing. This is the meditation of the happiest man in the world. Are you ready to become the happiest woman in the world? Why not? But it takes practice. You can't just, I'm happy, clap along if you feel like happiness is for you. What is that song? I'm singing it so badly. So what one can do, but it's not a meditation that I've suggested. But if you really want to take it to the next level, you do it for your friend, you do it for a stranger, you do it for an enemy, and then you do it for yourself. You know, imagine you're doing it for yourself and then giving to yourself. So there's 4, right? Can you do that for all 4? The enemy as well? Forgiveness is a practice. And when you do this for your enemy, you will forgive them. This is how. People ask me, how do I forgive? This person hurt me, they broke my heart, they cheated on me. This is how. This is how you do it. Yeah. Give it a try. Let me know next week how it went. But I got rid of that asshole partner. I never want to see him again. I never ever want to see him ever again. But I got him out of my head. I got him out of my head. The only time I think of him is when I use this example of him in class 6, which is the class we're in now. Otherwise, I'm fine. I've got no hatred anymore. You know why? Because I killed him with kindness. And my kindness was my meditation. Okay? Does it make sense? Okay. My hatred and my love, they can't exist at the same time. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. It's got to be a shootout. I got rid of him. I never want to see him again. I don't have to go and be nice to him. I don't have to phone him up. I don't have to do any of those things. Just get him out of my head. And the only way to get him out of my head was to just send loving kindness and empathy. Understand and send love. And that's the only thing that heals. Okay, now for the fun part, the homework. There's going to be a little project that we can do. And if we were in the same room together, I would be handing out little bags of chocolates. Oops, not that one. Where did it go? Oh, there. So imagine that these are little like chocolate hearts. I don't know, I don't think you can buy these. Anyway, I don't suggest giving random strangers hearts and chocolates because they might think that you are making a move on them or something inappropriate, right? But you might choose 7 things, 7 sweets, 7 items of fruit, 7 whatevers, and decide that every day you're going to give one away, but to someone that's not your friend. That's the hard part. So they've got to be kind of like a stranger or even an enemy. Okay? You got to make them a cup of tea or random acts of kindness. You can quite easily do this on the car guard or anybody, like buy the teller at the till an extra item or something, right? But next week we're going to check in with your outstanding act of kindness, a story. Okay, next week is your story. You got it? It's a good homework to do. Random act of kindness. Random act of kindness. Then your journaling has changed again. Instead of care for self, it's care for others. Instead of gratitude for self, it's gratitude for others. So we're balancing the left wing and the right wing. How have I cared for others today? And am I grateful for people in my life? You know, I look at what people are doing around me or for me, and how does it make you feel? Is it gratitude? Gratitude has been a big theme, right, in the last couple of weeks. It's very important. Gratitude for self, that's the hardest one. Gratitude for others is easy. Okay. And that's the homework. And then I'll send you the loving kindness meditation that this monk was doing, which we just did. And that's the formula for happiness, according to Richard Davidson, leading neuroscientist. Very interesting article. It's really, really interesting. Any comments or questions as we close? Did you like the meditation? Was it fun? It's fun. It's a nice one. Easy. All right. Let's end it there. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next Monday. Good luck with the homework. It's going to be interesting.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Okay. Bye now.